Another summer. Now it's 2011. And it's time once again for the Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection. And I've been thinking about what to do for our time together. I'm not sure how long it'll run this summer, but it might run for a couple of months. Well, there'll be writings and different videos for those who are interested in looking at how the machine works, how we run our machine, and what's created from the result of those two coming together for a purpose. And the purpose, people can say, well, it's to create music. Yes, it is. But it depends on what you think about music. And this isn't said to make things complicated. This is said to open up the territory. A lot of times in my discourses, you might find that I talk for a while. But you might find, what do I do with some of that, even though I give many practical exercises? Because those practical exercises are meant to take you on a journey. And every journey is going to have questions. And that's why you need to go on a quest. And that's why I love the word question, because if you anagram it, which means change the letters around a bit, you come to I quest on. And any quest will have questions. For any so-called answer you might get, it'll open up a whole other domain. Especially if you take into account that we're human beings, we're physical, mental, emotional beings. I would also add spiritual beings to that. And there's changes. There's changes that happen all the time in life. And so if you have a relationship with you and your instrument, your instrument and your art, you're going to see, because of the journey of your life, there's bound to be all sorts of changes. Natural changes, physical changes, emotional changes, mental changes, according to where you're at in your life's journey at any particular time. This is nothing to fear. This is something to embrace like a great discoverer, like the people who hit the seas in boats, like Columbus and other people who are great navigators, wanting to explore. What's wrong with part of the musicianship being a great exploration? Instead of thinking, that's it, that's the only way it goes. Well, there might be points in your life where you think that. But don't be surprised if that changes. And that change is a part of growth. It is a part of growth. And you might go on a whole journey and then come back to some of the same similar ideas. But they won't be exactly the same because of the journey that you have been on. And now you will perceive those things that were so clear a bit fuller because you've been on the journey. And everyone's journey is different. And that's a very big part of what I'm concerned about in teaching, is to take into account everybody's journey is different. How couldn't it be? So, in this Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 3, it's the third one, I thought we'd talk about the balances. There's always things to balance. Always. You might find, for example, depending on what kind of playing you're doing, you want perhaps to be the same but different. Maybe the timings of it have to be different. Or certain kinds of exercises you might need more to compensate for other things that are happening in your physiology. Sometimes we mentally need a change. And so It's not throwing everything out when we need a change necessarily. It's adding or subtracting certain things according to need. And so, in this balancing act that we have to do, what do we need to look for? How do we know when to change? How do we know when to add something or to subtract something? And sometimes this comes with just very simple, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? Now, here's a bit of the tricky part. We might be feeling that our playing is going along fine. So what do I have to add? If it ain't broke, why fix it? Well, if you're totally satisfied with what you're doing, keep on. If you're interested in other territories of your playing, or even if it's expanding part of your range, whether that's your dynamic contrast, whether you actually high note to low note register, whether it's wanting that legato a bit smoother, or whether it's having a more direct connection between what you're feeling and what's coming out of the end of the horn. And here's something for you to think about. Many of you have professional aspirations, whether that's teaching, conducting band, teaching private lessons, teaching at a university or a college or high school or middle school, playing in a symphony orchestra or chamber music, or being a freelance artist, someone who can do many different things. Each one of those things is we're going to require you to have a certain set of professional criteria. If you're auditioning for certain major orchestras, they're going to look for certain criteria. Certain schools will look for a certain criteria. So we balance our professional pursuits, and then we have our personal art. For me, without the cultivation and building of my personal art, the professional art gets a bit bleak for me. As terrific as it is, it can get to be a little robotic. And so, of course, in our own daily routines, if we don't have that feeling of discovery, what do we do on the days all we feel like doing is, this is ridiculous, I'm not getting anything done, I want to go see a movie? Well, no one's stopping you from seeing the movie. Maybe you need to just divide up your time a little bit differently. Maybe you need to do little bits. Get your way into it gradually. You might have weeks like that. But as long as you're attentive, you'll keep connected to it. Everyone has to find their way. So I want to investigate these balances, whether we're working on endurance, high range, low range, short playing, loud playing, how to discover the deeper feelings inside of us that still need translation through the instrument, whatever they are. Just look into all these different facets of playing during this Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 3 and see where our journey and quest leads to. And if questions arise, that's fantastic. We'll quest on. So I hope to see you very, very soon. All the best.